Chapter 943 of One Piece is out, and what an intense one it was. The events in the Flower Capital are truly heating up more and more, but let's start at the beginning. We start into the chapter with another flashback to Hakuma in the past. We see Yasu speaking to the young and wild version of the Nine Red Scabbards all tied up in front of him. They apparently have attempted to steal a large amount of money from the daimyo. From the left to the right we see Nekomamushi, Raizo, Shutenmaru, Kinemon Kanjuro, Kiku and Inuarashi. And on the far right we can see the silhouettes of Kawamatsu and Denjiro. While both of them are still not revealed here, their shadows seem to reveal a little bit more about them. Kawamatsu looks relatively short and actually seems to have a sort of beak, like a turtle or a kappa does. Because of this and his wide mouth, I kind of think that it's rather unlikely that Kawamatsu is an otter mink. But apparently he really is a kappa or a turtle of some sort. Even more interestingly though, we get a first rough glimpse at Denjiro. And I don't know about you guys, but it almost looks like Denjiro might be a mink as well. Either he has a long tail behind him or a really weird arm in the air. And I personally would put my money on tails. What I can clearly say is that at first glance, this depiction doesn't remind me of anyone we have met in Wano so far. He might be a new character after all then. Going back into the scene, instead of punishing the attempted theft of the nine, Yasu actually gives them more money than they actually tried to steal in the first place. He tells them to use the money to study and become wise and knowledgeable in order to protect Oden and as a consequence Wano, once he would become the shogun. In this moment, Yasu declares them all the guardians of Wano. And with this, the flashback ends and we see the Scabbards mourning the death of the old friend. Back in the capital now, we get to see the aftermath of Yasu's execution by Orochi. The people of Ebisu Town are still laughing in desperation. We see Hiyori, who's clinging to a Zoro whose expression is showing an increasingly worrying amount of hate and anger towards the shogun. While Orochi is clearly content with the laughter of the people from Ebisu Town, we finally also see Sanji, Usopp, Nami, Robin and Frankie arriving at the scene together with Shinobu and Kanjuro. They are also clearly conflicted by seeing the people from Ebisu Town uncontrollably laughing. And they're not the only ones. We now cut over to a few other locations to get some reactions to this. First, we make a short stop back at Udon Prison, where we see Queen, Luffy and Hyogoro following the events via livestream snail. Luffy is furious about the people laughing, while Queen is calling out the ruthlessness of Orochi. And his boss seems to think along similar lines, because we next get to see a glimpse of Kaido again, drinking at Onigashima. He also calls out Orochi for his poor taste, and while we readers already suspect that he had his hands in this somehow, we now finally get an explanation of what is truly going on. Pretty much at the same time, those who have been in Wano for the past 20 years fill in those who weren't on the secret behind the smiling people of Ebisu Town. Hyogoro tells Luffy, Hiyori tells Zoro, Shutenmaru tells Kinemon and Inuarashi, and Shinobu tells the other Straw Hats. The explanation starts off with information we already know. A few years ago, Kaido and Orochi started to create the Small Devil Fruit together with Caesar and Doflamingo in order to create an army of strong monsters and, in the end, create the strongest crew in the world. The next part is where it gets really interesting though. Apparently, the success rate of the already imperfect artificial devil fruits is only about 10%, meaning that out of 10 people who eat the fruit, only 1 gets the power of an animal. The remaining 9 only get the serious side effects of the fruit's sad chemical. In other words, not only do they become unable to swim like with any other regular devil fruit, but they also lose the ability to express sadness and anger. As a result, the Beast Pirates are split into 3 major groups. The first one are the Waiters, those pirates that are still waiting to take the gamble and eat a small devil fruit. The second one are the Gifters that we already know. They have successfully eaten a devil fruit and have turned into beasts, at least partly. The last group are the so-called Pleasurers. We actually already knew this name, but now it gets a completely new meaning. The Pleasurers are those pirates that have unsuccessfully eaten a small devil fruit and as a result are constantly smiling, just like the people of Ebisu Town. This is also why Kaido, Doflamingo and Caesar named the fruit Smile in the first place, as some sort of sick pun. I honestly really like this revelation. As you might know, I always was a little bit surprised that the Beast Pirates had this goofy feeling to them. When last week I talked about the possibility that they were also suffering from the side effects, some people rightfully argued that someone like Hold'em or the prison guards does not smile all the time, if ever. Now it all actually makes sense, because for every gifter in the crew, there are now 9 pleasurers that are always laughing and smiling. I'm really happy that Oda actually had a reason for this and didn't just make the Beast Pirates a quirky crew just for the sake of it. The comedic vibe that we get from Wano so far has now taken a really dark turn that I'm 100% on board with. The only question that still remains now is how the people of Ebisu Town got their hands on these fruits. And the cruel answer to that question is of course Orochi. See, Orochi is the very sympathetic kind of person that makes everyone's lives miserable, but then doesn't want to feel the consequences of that. Being disturbed by the sad and grieving people of Ebisu right in front of his beautiful capital, he got his hands on the remains of the smile fruits and mixed them into the leftovers that were being thrown out there. And even when the villagers realized what the fruits were causing, they couldn't help but eat them anyway, since they were starving. As a result, even though everyone there feels deep despair, anger and grief, no one's able to express any of these emotions anymore. I know we've seen a lot of crazy stuff happening in One Piece over the years, but this really is messed up on a different level. Basically, it's torture. Obviously on a psychological level, but also physical, since not only were they robbed of the ability to swim, but also their face is physically not able to change expressions. Imagine being stuck smiling for the rest of your life. No words. During this explanation, Toko has somehow managed to get past the guards and through the fence, and is now kneeling beside her dead father, trying to treat her with Usopp's toad oil. Of course, Orochi immediately recognizes her and aims to execute her as well. His bullet never reaches Toko though, because we get the unexpected reunion of Zoro and Sanji that both jumped in together in order to save her. Now, me and many others have talked about the reunion of those two a lot, and I think no one really expected it to happen right now. The first thing I have to say is, can we please acknowledge how awesome that panel of the two looks? Oh my god, I want that colored version as my wallpaper right now. But beside from that, I know a lot of people are waiting for some sort of confrontation between the two, since Sanji left the crew without Luffy's permission. And while I'm on your side that I think this should be addressed by Zoro, I do not think that now is the right moment for that. And while both of them seem not very pleased to see each other, I expect them to lay their conflict aside until the situation is somewhat cleared. So let's recap this intensive chapter. We started the chapter with another flashback of Yasu with the 9 red scabbards, showing us that Yasu pushed them into becoming stronger and wiser for the sake of the entire country. We got to get a better look at Kawamatsu, who really does look like a kappa, and a glimpse at Denjiro, who in my opinion seems to have a tail and might be a mink as well. We also got an, in my opinion, very satisfying explanation for the situation with the Smile Devil fruits that cleared up a lot of things for me. The quirky feeling I got when reading Wano so far was largely due to the pleasurers and the people of Ebisu Town. And we now know that this is because of the cruel side effects of the smile fruits that only have a 10% success rate. I really liked this explanation, and it gave Wano a significantly darker and more serious feeling right away. I also liked the explanation to why the people of Ebisu Town got their hands on these fruits as well. Orochi not wanting to see them suffer and cry, and as a result forcing them to smile, fits perfectly into his character, and even develops him a little bit further. I was a little bit skeptical last chapter how Oda was going to puzzle this one in, but I really got the feeling that it all falls in really smoothly now. Finally, we get the unexpected reunion of Zoro and Sanji, who were protecting Toko from Orochi. All in all, I can say that this chapter felt really satisfying to me. It felt like Oda gave us an unfinished puzzle picture of Wano, and by adding in this piece of information, a lot of things now fell into place for me. I'm curious to see what will happen next. All Straw Hats except Luffy and Chopper are now gathered in the capital. We also have Law, Hawkins, Drake, Orochi and his soldiers there. And obviously I'm super curious how Sanji's and Zoro's reunion will play out in the next chapter. But now let me know your thoughts on this chapter in the comments below. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to be notified for any future content of mine. Or dislike, don't share and unsubscribe. It's a free world, people. Thanks so much for listening, I hope to see you around next time, and until then, have a great week.